We had Governor Jindal and Governor Branstad on. Today's Congressman Day. We've already had Steve King, and now I'm very pleased to welcome into the Crystal Studio Congressman Tom Latham. How are you, sir?
I'm doing very well, Simon. Thanks for having me this afternoon. It is a beautiful day out here with the breeze.
It really is. It's fantastic. And you went over to the Register's soapbox earlier on, gave a speech, talked about the need for leadership in Washington, D.C., which, speaking as a citizen of this greatest of all nations, I can tell you that I, for one, am desperate to see some of that.
Well, that's what it's going to take, some real leadership, some cooperation. If we're ever going to get anything done that's big, that's meaningful, that's going to save the country for the next generations, we're going to have people have to step up and do the right thing for the right reasons. And, you know, that means taking some really tough votes sometimes. It means working together. Anything of significance is going to have to be done, I think, on a bipartisan basis. That's the only way in the past that real change has actually been accomplished. And we've got to have that leadership. And I don't care if, with this White House, you know, they are leading from behind. Going back to the stimulus they didn't write, to even the health care bill that the president claims as his signature issue. Really, they had little impact. It was written primarily in the Senate. When you look at the farm bill that we're struggling to try to get done today, the president and the Secretary of Agriculture have not made one suggestion, have not put forth one proposal for a new farm bill. And yet, you know, they're trying to be critical of that it hasn't gotten done when they have not done anything themselves to advance getting that very important piece of legislation done.
And yet, you know, the president has the ability to at least speak reasonably. We played some audio the other day. If you put the headphones on for a moment there, Congressman. Andrew, I'm not sure if you can hear me. I see you're answering a phone. Are you there, Andrew? Andrew Downs? We had two bits of audio from the president talking about Paul Ryan's budget. Can we have them in the order that we played in the first one first? I want you to hear this, Congressman.
I think Paul, for example, head of the Budget Committee, has looked at the budget and has made a serious proposal. I've read it. I can tell you what's in it. And there's some ideas in there that I would agree with, but there's some ideas that we should have a healthy debate about because I don't agree with.
Now, okay, that's reasonable, right? That was in 2010. And here's the real kicker, because it's the second cut that is really dramatic. Let's have that, please, Andrew.
You know, I see Frank Lutz up here sitting in the front. He's already polled it, and he said, you know, the way you're really going to, I've done a focus group, and, you know, the way we're going to really box in Obama on this one or make Pelosi look bad on that one. I know, I like Frank. We've had conversations between Frank and I, but that's how we operate. It's all tactics, and it's not solving problems. And so the question is, at what point can we have a serious conversation about Medicare and its long-term liability, or a serious conversation about Social Security, or a serious conversation about budget and debt, in which we're not simply trying to position ourselves politically. That's what I'm committed to doing. We won't agree all the time in getting it done, but I'm committed to doing it.
Where's that guy gone, Congressman Latham?
Well, it's very unfortunate that he would say things like that when he, in fact, a year ago, about this time, there were negotiations going on to have a huge deal that would have actually increased some revenues, but made very significant changes in the programs that he was just talking about. There was Simpson Bowles that was proposed, a presidential commission to come up with ideas of changing long-term spending. After he put that commission in place, he walked away totally from the results of that.
Yep.
I was, you know, in the room with the speaker as he was trying to negotiate with the president, and the president, you know, would get about so close, and then I don't know what it was, he couldn't stand it, he'd walk away. And that's what's frustrating. So to have what he's saying is correct, that we're going to have to sit down, we're going to have to get stuff done. But every time he's had a chance to do it, he has walked away.
So look, you're
been serious.
You're a lot more diplomatic than I am, and that's why you're in Washington D.C. and I'm not. and have no desire to be there either, by the way. Would last about a minute and a half, I think. The president's talking out of both sides of his mouth, isn't he? I mean, he's in that 2010 speech where there's a very reasonable President Obama saying things that are actually correct, that I agree with, that we're not going to agree with each other all the time. We have to sit down, and we have to have the debate, and we have to figure out a way to get the important things done. That guy is great, but frankly, he's lying.
Well, it obviously the truth is in what people actually do rather than what they say.
Mm-hmm.
And again, every opportunity that has been there for him to step up, to show leadership, he has, in the end, walked away from. And it's extraordinarily frustrating. The super committee last year was supposed to come up with some recommendations. Well, again, with no leadership, how are you going to get anything done if there's no real proposals out there, if people aren't serious? He's looking at sequestration that's going to be devastating. That's the cliff here on January 2nd when those cuts come in for defense and for other non-defense discretionary funds. There's no plan out there to deal with it, and he won't even talk about it at this point.
It is more than a little frustrating because we all know, those of us who follow these issues, we all know that the thing that's going to get rid of Medicare is not Paul Ryan, it's not Obamacare, it's actually Medicare that's going to destroy Medicare.
Well,
because it's unsustainable.
He talks about, fixing Medicare supposedly for the future. Well, the fact of the matter is, in his health care bill, the Congressional Budget Office just came out with a new scoring that said that they are cutting $700 billion out of Medicare to fund a separate new entitlement for other people. And this is, remember, Medicare is a fund that people pay into out of their paychecks all of their life for that health care when they are retired. And to take $700 billion out of that, I think is just, number one, is wrong. It advances the bankruptcy date. Just last year, because of the health care bill, bankruptcy went from 2029, 5 years sooner, to 2024 because of that one provision in there. And the cuts are horrible enough, but also in the health care bill for Medicare recipients, you've got a 15-member panel called the IPAB, the Independent Payment Advisory Board, that is going to determine what services, what procedures, what kind of health care people get in Medicare. And the way the health care bill is set up, there is no oversight from Congress, from the executive branch. They can't be sued by the judicial branch. They are totally separated, and their sole purpose is to determine what health care you're going to be able to receive in Medicare. They're going to be standing between you and your doctor.
You are known for talking to the other side, for getting things done in Washington, D.C. Some people like that. Some people, frankly, don't like that. They would rather you were very, very firm in terms of your position as opposed to compromising. But if we are actually going to get anything done, there's a very loud tractor we're hearing right now. It's a tractor pull day here at the Iowa State Fair. If we're going to get anything done, seriously get anything done, do we not need either let me start here, a Democrat president with a Democrat-controlled Congress, both houses, or a Republican president and a Republican-controlled Congress, both houses, if we are actually going to move this ball down the field?
Right. Well, what I think it's going to take is somebody in the White House that can lead. And, this president has had 4 years to try and do that. He has stepped back. He's been, as they say, leading from behind on every issue of significance. You can get things done, and what combination, whether it's in the White House or the Senate, being controlled by different parties, if you have people who are actually serious and not playing politics with the issues, you could get things done. And again, I think anything that is real, anything that is long-lasting is going to have to be bipartisan. I work with the other side. Well, I will tell you, you never have to compromise your principles. You stand on principle, but you can have the communication I chair an appropriations subcommittee, and I work with the most liberal member from Massachusetts, a guy named John Olver. We worked together actually, and we were able to pass a bill after 3 days of open debate on the floor of the House of Representatives with open amendment process, and get a large bipartisan vote on my bill, and it has the largest percentage cuts of any of the appropriation bills this year. So I was able to get the spending cuts and also draw bipartisan support for it. It's a matter of actually trying to work, communicate with everybody. It's not going to be perfect in the end, but that's the way you get stuff done. You have to work together.
Well, I want to talk about Mitt Romney. I want to talk about Paul Ryan a little bit, who I'm sure you know. And I obviously want to talk about your race too, but first I've got to take a brief time out to go and catch up with some traffic and weather with Jim Brown. Jim? We're live from the Iowa State Fair here on from the Crystal Studios. We're with Congressman Tom Latham. And let's talk a little bit about Mitt Romney, because one of Mitt Romney's claims, and you probably know him, well, you definitely know him better than I do, if you know him at all, because I don't, is that he's able to work with the other side, as he did in Massachusetts.
Well, and that's what he talks about. I've seen commercials certainly, and that was one of the going through the primary process was. Concerned that he maybe would work too much with the other side of the aisle, and he was forced to. I think he had 85% of his legislature in Massachusetts were Democrats, and he was able to balance a budget each of the 4 years there, and probably had to do some compromising. Now, I honestly believe that when he's elected president, I think when that happens, that we will have control of the Senate also, and continue to control the House of Representatives, and we'll be able to do some really good, significant things. Simon, the only reason I'm doing this is because we're going to go over the cliff here. We don't have another 4 years in this country, budget-wise, debt-wise. I tell you, regulatory-wise, what would scare me, President Obama and the regulatory schemes that they have out there. Right now, the EPA has about 43 different regulations in their hip pocket ready to go into place that cost the economy each over $100 million the day after the election. And what that does to the economy, what it does to the cost of our energy here, what it does to farmers, all of those things is a very, very scary situation. And if you have 4 years of this president not being held accountable again by voters, I think they'll be the most activist government you've ever seen in the history of this country.
Oh, I do too. Now, we always hear, hey, most important election of our lifetime. This one's really different. This one is really different.
The consequences of failure are catastrophic for this country, because we are $16 trillion in debt at this point. What the president, his budget proposal, fortunately, not a Republican or Democrat in the House or the Senate ever voted.
94 to 0.
Zero on his side, House and Senate.
But
what he's talking about is, over $10 trillion of more debt in the next decade, and not reining in anything, not fixing anything. Structurally changing things is what we have to do. And this does not have to be that hard. And when you look at Medicare, you don't steal $700 billion out of Medicare and watch it go bankrupt sooner. You shore up Medicare. You put in policies that will actually make it long term. Okay,
very briefly, Paul Ryan, right?
I do know Paul Ryan.
Okay, and I'm not going to give you the softball good guy. Is he a good guy? I'm not going to give you that. What's the worst thing you can tell me about Paul Ryan?
The worst thing, oftentimes it's hard to talk to him sometimes on the floor of the House because he's absolutely busy. He's someone.
Does he buy his round? I mean, when it's his turn, does he buy his round? That's what we really want to know.
He's not someone that I socialize with.
Okay.
He is a policy wonk. He's someone who really is down in the minutia of the budget.
Very highbrow, isn't he?
And someone who can articulate what that minutia in the budget actually means to real people. I think that's the real advantage.
I said this to Congressman King before. When Romney picked Ryan, I had this epiphany that he doesn't just want to win, he actually wants to govern.
Absolutely.
And that's why he picked Ryan. All right, we've got a couple of minutes. I want to talk about your race. So let's start with a simple one. How's it going?
It's going terrific. I am just humbled by the tremendous outpouring of volunteers.